Good morning, I'm Robert Maxwell. If you were just waking up with us this morning, if you have not been following our coverage of two deadly fires, we're going to continue to do that this morning. Two children died in one of those in South Austin. Kate Whitehouse has been covering that side of the story for us, but AFD has been coping with another deadly fire. This one was on Lott Avenue near Chico. That's in East Austin, in Springdale and Airport area. My co-anchor Sally Hernandez made her way to that fire earlier this morning and has been giving us great updates throughout the morning here. And Sally, what's the latest now?
Okay, the latest is that fire investigators will not be able to go into this fire for about another hour or so to figure out exactly what caused the fire. We do know when they got here around 2:30 this morning, the flames were so high and so intense. They didn't want to worry about knocking down those flames. They wanted to get the people inside the house out of it. So they got 3 people to come out of the house safely, carried some, and then they heard that there was another person in another house and back of that house. They were able to pull a 4th person out of the fire, but 1 person did not make it. They went inside and did another sweep of the area, and that's when they found out that this was indeed a deadly fire. Here's where it gets horrendous, tricky. Family members don't know exactly who died in that fire. Firefighters don't know either. They do tell us that they transferred 3 people to the hospital, 2 maybe to Brooke Army Medical Center, from what the family can tell us. Family members are out here not knowing who died in this fire. They know they have to plan a funeral. They just don't know who that funeral is going to be for just yet. They're asking for your prayers. Let's listen to some of their pleas.
There's a lot of pain and heartache right now. We're just trying to, it's a lot of chaos, trying to figure out everything, trying to figure out if everybody's okay.
Who's all right.
Who's, you know, what's really going on.
I mean, the material is replaceable, but
family of course.
And I know my aunt was living, she was already kind of, I guess you would call retired, but her job didn't have a retirement, so she didn't have any money left. She lives, you know, Social Security check, I'm assuming, or disability check or something, and she was already like 75, 80 years old. She took care of everyone there. She took care of my aunt, she took care of my uncle. She
grandma.
Was the oldest daughter of all of them. She took care of my grandma. She was the main sole provider and caretaker. We grew up here, but I mean, now to try and rebuild, I guess that's what's going to be next.
So they're thinking perhaps that it was an elderly family member that died in this fire, but they just don't have confirmation on that just yet, and fire crews are not going to give them that confirmation until about another hour or so when they're able to go inside and figure out some kind of cause. I did ask about lightning. They said that lightning they don't think was the cause of this fire just yet, but they're not going to rule anything out.
Yeah, and you know, Sally, horrendous for firefighters too. They train for this kind of thing, but to rescue 4 people this morning and to obviously lose a life of one of those in the house, incredible.
Yeah, and that's what I asked one of the firefighters out here. I said, how many people did you send inside that fire? Because the flames were so hot and so intense, and you guys knew that there were people in there. He said, we sent as many as we safely and possibly could. Our job is to get those people out of there safely, and they were able to get 4 out. But sadly, 1 was not taken out in time. And
you mentioned one of the firefighters suffered some minor injuries to a hand.
Yes, 1 suffered minor injuries to a hand. That's the only injury to that firefighter. They had other firefighters who were out here just kind of resting so that they wouldn't suffer from any kind of heat exhaustion. It is humid out here this morning.
Yeah, and investigators are obviously on the scene this morning, right?
They are on scene. They're not going to be able to get inside that house for another hour or so because the fumes are still so bad, so intense that it's just not safe for them at this time.
Oh boy. Okay, Sally, we'll check back with you in the next few minutes here. Sally Hernandez live on the scene of a deadly house fire on Lott Avenue this morning. Another house fire took the lives of 2 kids overnight in South Austin. This was on Wagon Bend. Kate Whitehouse has been working that story this morning and learning what she can about this house fire. Again, 2 separate deadly house fires. Austin Fire has not seen this in recent memory, if at all. Kate, hi.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, 2 children died in this fire. Certainly firefighters knew there were kids in the fire. They went in as soon as they arrived. They pulled them out, but unfortunately they were not able to save them. I have Fire Chief Rhoda McCurr with me this morning. What have you learned about what happened out here?
You know, there's really very little that we do know other than the really sad fact that there's a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old that died in this particular fire this morning here on Wagon Bend Trail, and that we have another fire fatality further north, and it was, as far as I know, a 74-year-old female. So the real tragedy is that someone doesn't get up to have another day, and that really bothers me. And we're going to, the fire department and our public education, we're going to work really hard to prevent these fires from occurring. That's really what we need to do.
And prevent it through making sure people have smoke detectors and...
Yeah, there's many things. I mean, certainly smoke detectors, and we don't know what the cause or the origin was of either one of these fires. So, but I mean, all public education is just, good fire safety behavior, candles, all those kind of things, watching what you cook. And I don't know what the cause of these fires were, but we're going to work hard on the neighborhoods around here afterwards and try and get other folks in the neighborhood to think about fire safety and being safe.
And can you think of the last time something like this has occurred in Austin? It doesn't come to me. This so rarely happens.
It doesn't happen very often. In fact, we were very low fire fatality rate, and I have a vision that there's 0 fire deaths. Everybody do your part, 0 fire deaths. And so we have to do our part, and then the community has to do their part too to help us help them. So.
And we understand that the firefighters went into this house here while the house was still on fire because they knew the kids were inside.
And that is exactly what happens, They evaluate the risk, and if they know that there's a benefit, in other words, there's somebody inside that needs to be rescued, firefighters, that's what they do. They put their life on the line for others.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much. We really, really appreciate it. As she just mentioned, 5- and 7-year-old kids are the ones who died in this house fire. The fire is now out. As she mentioned, they're not really sure how it started, and that is going to be part of the investigation later on today. We're live in Southeast Austin. Kate Wydok, KXAN News.